The story begins with tension already simmering in the sterile halls of the maternity ward. The new mother, exhausted but glowing with the fragile joy of childbirth, could hardly process what was happening as her mother-in-law stormed into the room. The older woman's voice cut through the quiet like a blade, sharp, impatient, full of judgment she had been saving for this exact moment. She had never fully approved of her son's choice, and now, standing over the hospital bed, she made no effort to hide it. She insisted the young woman gather her things, claiming the hospital staff was incompetent, the room was unsuitable, and that she, as the proper elder, knew better where the new mother should be taken. The daughter-in-law, still weak and holding her sleeping newborn, tried to remain calm. She asked for patience, for a moment to breathe, for her husband to arrive, but none of her words seemed to reach the furious woman looming over her. The mother-in-law paced the room, muttering that she had warned her son long ago, that no one listened to her wisdom, that she was always left to clean up the consequences. She accused the new mother of dramatizing her fatigue, saying that women of her generation gave birth and went straight home without complaint. Just as the daughter-in-law felt tears welling in her eyes, the door swung open. A figure stepped inside, unexpected, uninvited, but unmistakably powerful in presence. The mother-in-law froze mid-sentence, her mouth slightly open, unable to utter another word. It wasn't just the appearance of the visitor, it was the calm authority radiating from them, the kind that instantly redirected the energy of the entire room. They politely but firmly asked what was happening, and the daughter-in-law, trembling, finally found her voice to explain. For the first time since barging in, the mother-in-law took a step back, suddenly aware of how unreasonable she appeared. The visitor listened, then addressed the older woman directly, telling her she was rushing to the wrong station, a gentle but pointed way of saying she had misunderstood everything about the moment, the needs of her family, and her role in it. Instead of helping, she was causing chaos. Instead of protecting, she was wounding. The words landed with surprising precision, deflating her anger and leaving the room noticeably lighter. Meanwhile, on the other side of the television world, another dramatic clash was unfolding. During a heated segment, Joy Behar attempted one of her trademark interruptions, but this time she met a force she wasn't prepared for. Chaka Khan, known for her powerful voice on stage, proved her strength off stage as well. With effortless confidence, she dismantled Joy's condescending remarks, turning the moment into a legendary live takedown. Her response was sharp, witty, and controlled, so perfectly delivered that even the studio audience fell silent before erupting into applause. It became one of those rare television moments that instantly echoed across social media, replayed and quoted for days. Both events, though worlds apart, carried the same truth. Sometimes it takes one unexpected voice to change the entire direction of a conflict. The tension in the maternity ward had already reached a point where the air felt thick, almost unbreathable. The young mother lay on the hospital bed, cradling her newborn with tired arms, trying to shield her fragile peace from the storm brewing only a few feet away. Her mother-in-law had arrived like a whirlwind, bursting through the door, voice sharp, face tight with disapproval. She didn't pause to congratulate her or admire the baby. Instead, she launched straight into complaints. The room was too cold, the nurses were too slow, the doctors didn't know what they were doing. And worst of all, her daughter-in-law was lying around like a helpless child, instead of being ready to go home. The new mother could hardly believe what she was hearing. She tried to explain that the doctor had requested she rest, that her stitches hadn't fully settled, that the baby needed monitoring, but her words bounced off the older woman's armor of self-righteousness. The mother-in-law paced the small room like a general preparing for battle, insisting she knew better because she had raised 3 children and never complained. She told the younger woman that a hospital was no place for a newborn and that she should already be dressed and ready to leave. Every sentence she spoke carried the same message: you're not doing this right, and you never have. The daughter-in-law's heart pounded. She felt trapped, emotionally, physically, and emotionally. Her husband wasn't there yet, and she didn't have the strength to argue. Her voice trembled when she attempted to protest, but the mother-in-law dismissed her objections as hormonal nonsense. The older woman even threatened to fetch a wheelchair and roll her out herself if she didn't cooperate. The newborn stirred restlessly, sensing the tension, which only made the mother more anxious. Then, just when the confrontation reached its breaking point, the door opened again. But this time it wasn't a nurse or a doctor. The person who walked in carried an immediate sense of calm authority, someone familiar to both women, yet entirely unexpected at that moment. As soon as the mother-in-law saw the visitor, she went silent as if someone had pressed a mute button. Her posture shifted, her expression softened, and her voice completely disappeared. Even her pacing stopped mid-step. The visitor looked around the room, sensing instantly that something was wrong. They approached the young mother first, checking on her gently, asking how she felt, asking if she needed anything. Only then did they turn to the mother-in-law, whose earlier bravado had evaporated. "What are you doing?" the visitor asked quietly, but the quietness made the words even heavier. "You're rushing to the wrong station." The phrase hit the older woman with surprising clarity. It wasn't just a comment, it was a correction. A reminder that she had misunderstood the situation entirely. Instead of supporting her daughter-in-law in one of the most vulnerable moments of her life, she had been suffocating her. Instead of helping her son's new family begin gently, she had been tearing at the fragile threads of their peace. It was a realization that left her speechless. And on television, another confrontation was unfolding in a completely different world but with a strangely similar theme. Joy Behar, known for her bold opinions and tendency to talk over guests, attempted to dominate a discussion once again. But this time, she met her match. Chaka Khan, legendary, unbothered, and naturally commanding, refused to be spoken over. When Joy tried to interrupt, Chaka delivered a response so sharp, precise, and effortlessly confident that the entire panel fell silent. It wasn't angry. It wasn't rude. It was simply powerful, so powerful that Joy herself had no comeback. Both moments, though far apart, reflected the same truth. Sometimes people push too hard, speak too loudly, or assume too much, until someone unexpected steps in and stops the chaos with a single well-aimed sentence. The confrontation in the maternity ward had been simmering for nearly an hour before it finally boiled over. The young mother, still pale from labor and struggling to keep her eyes open, lay curled protectively around her newborn. Every fiber of her being wanted peace, rest, and quiet moments with her baby. Instead, she found herself trapped in a clash she had neither the strength nor the desire to fight. Her mother-in-law had shown up with the kind of energy that could shake walls, bursting into the room, pointing out flaws, and demanding immediate action without a shred of gentleness. The older woman's words flew like darts. She complained about the state of the room, criticized the hospital staff, and claimed that modern women were too soft. She boasted that in her day she returned to housework the same afternoon she gave birth. She accused her daughter-in-law of exaggerating her pain and suggested she only stayed in bed to gain sympathy. The new mother tried to defend herself, but exhaustion tangled her tongue. Her voice wavered, too thin to cut through the storm. At one point, the mother-in-law marched to the closet, pulling out the young woman's bag and insisting she get dressed immediately. The newborn stirred, but the older woman didn't even pause. She spoke as though her judgment was absolute, her authority unquestionable. She declared that the baby would be safer at home than surrounded by strangers in scrubs. She said the young mother had already rested long enough. She even threatened to call her son and tell him his wife refused to cooperate. Each new comment chipped away at the young woman's fragile calm. Her hands shook as she held her baby closer, feeling both protective and helpless. Tears gathered at the corners of her eyes. She knew she shouldn't crumble, but the exhaustion of childbirth combined with the weight of constant criticism made everything feel heavier. With no husband present to mediate and no strength left to argue, she felt as though she was shrinking into the hospital bed. Then the door opened with a soft click that nonetheless seemed louder than the shouting that had filled the room moments earlier. The unexpected guest stepped inside, not in a rush, not with any dramatic flair, but with a quiet presence strong enough to change the entire atmosphere. They looked at the young mother first, offering a gentle nod of reassurance before turning their gaze toward the mother-in-law. The older woman froze. Her shoulders stiffened. Her mouth opened slightly, but for once no words came out. The shift in her demeanor was almost immediate, as though she had been caught doing something she knew she couldn't justify. The visitor spoke softly, asking what had been happening. The daughter-in-law's voice trembled as she tried to explain, but before she could finish, the visitor raised a calming hand. Then came the sentence that rearranged the entire room: "You're rushing to the wrong station." It was neither confrontational nor cruel. It was a reminder, a gentle but firm redirection: telling the mother-in-law she had completely misread the situation. She wasn't helping her family, she was overwhelming them. She wasn't guiding, she was bulldozing. Her desire to take control had blinded her to the vulnerability in front of her. The words struck so unexpectedly that she could only stand there, silently absorbing them. Elsewhere, on a buzzing television set miles away, another kind of silencing moment was unfolding. Joy Behar, known for her sharp tongue and relentless interruptions, found herself facing someone who couldn't be steamrolled, Chaka Khan. When Joy attempted to dominate the conversation, Chaka responded with a blend of confidence, wit, and calm authority. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't insult. She simply shut down the interference with such composure and power that the entire studio seemed to pause. Both scenes, though unrelated, shared the same core lesson. Sometimes the loudest, most forceful person in the room doesn't win. Sometimes all it takes is one unexpected, steady voice to restore balance, dissolve chaos, and reveal the truth behind the noise.